Buckle up because this is a long one. To start off, I was previously married to a toxic, very emotionally hurtful woman. After about 8 years and having my eyes open to what I was actually going through, I finally decided to get a divorce. During my divorce, I leaned on a perfect friend of mine for support and knowledge. She had just got a divorce herself because her partner was toxic and emotionally hurtful as well. During the divorce process, I started getting deep feelings for my good friend, and it was mutual. We ended up getting together before the divorce was finalized. My wife and I agree it wasn't our best way of going about things, but it is what it is. I openly admitted all this to my ex-wife, my parents, and my family, so nothing was going to be a surprise to anyone. My wife and I have been together ever since and have never been happier. We both have a mutual relationship with my ex-wife for my child, and she has moved on and moved past the divorce. Keep in mind that everyone who was involved in the divorce has moved on, and we all have civil relationships with one another. My parents weren't thrilled about the divorce, but they understood. And once they saw the change in me and my child, they were overjoyed. Fast forward about a year. My brother was marrying his new wife, and everyone was happy. My wife got along with his wife, and so did I. Everything is going well, or so we thought. We live on either side of the country, so he and I had minimal face-to-face contact, but the usual texts and phone calls happened regularly. Both our wives were doing the same with each other. Well, one day we were making a post on social media, and we wanted to tag the family when we noticed his wife wasn't popping up. So my wife went on her spy account, which she has for the kids, and looked. What do you know? We were blocked. This surprised us because we were all getting along well, so I thought, okay, it wasn't us. Maybe something happened and she blocked the whole family. I talked to my parents, who weren't blocked, and everything was fine on their end. Cool, okay. So it is just us. I had a lengthy phone call with my brother about this, and that's when I learned all that's been going on between him and his wife and how they feel about my divorce and me and my wife. She blocked us and cut us off because she saw me as a cheater, didn't agree with how my wife and I got together, didn't like that we were happy and having a great time and showing it to our family through social media, and didn't like that my parents were treating us equally. In her eyes, she should have been seen as the better in-law because they got together the normal way. All her words. Now, my brother was stuck in between, so I wasn't too mad at him, but definitely not happy with everything being said. My wife and I agreed we don't need her in our life if this is how she feels about us. I still had a decent relationship with my brother, after all. Fast forward about a year or so. The situation hasn't changed. We are still blocked from her. My wife and I became pregnant. I struggled with telling my brother that we were pregnant because we knew she struggled with getting pregnant, and I didn't want to seem like I was bragging to him, but I did tell him. Everything was fine. He congratulated me and my wife and asked about the baby when he was born. Once again, everything seemed good. It's now a few months after the birth of my child, and we are talking about doing a family road trip to my folks who live on the other side of the country. I was talking to my brother about stopping by and seeing him. We talked about it all, and he said, well, why don't we meet at our parents' house? I finally asked the tricky question. Will your wife be there? He said yes, and I told him you know how awkward that will be, especially after everything she has said about my wife and me. I was responded with, just suck it up, play nice, and we will all have a good weekend. Not okay with my wife or me. I told him that I don't do fake and a conversation should be had like adults to get past everything that has been said. He said no, it's not worth it. Why wouldn't you want to get past it? Why would you not like a good relationship between everyone? I told him that my wife and I do not want her around our kids because of the way she sees my wife and I. You can't expect us to let you around our children if you think we are second-rate scum to you. They came from us, so who's to say you don't view my kids in that way? Papa Bear and Mama Bear will protect them. My brother said that it's childish to withhold the kids from her, and that I, once again, should suck it up and be fake. I'm not moving on my decision. And I told him, if you want fairness and for people to not be childish, how about you have a conversation with your wife and set her straight, considering what she has done to my wife and me, and that she has started the whole thing. At this point, more of the truth has come out. Well, maybe she wouldn't be like that if you didn't cheat on your ex-wife and married her. Freaking really, dude? That's how you feel. It's been 5 years since my divorce, and I found someone who really makes me genuinely happy, You saw how toxic my ex was. I'm not trying to justify cheating while I was divorcing, but it's been 5 years since my ex-wife has gotten past it, and we are civil about everything. What makes you two so freaking special and need to harbor it? I lost it. I was screaming on the phone to him about how I had just found out my brother sees me in the same way she does, as second rate, and they should be the golden couple in the family and treated better. After I hung up the phone, I cooled off a bit and then proceeded to inform the folks of what had just happened. My dad lost it. He basically said the same thing I had said. It's been over 5 years. Get the frick over it. My mom wants to keep the peace and for us to get along. Not this time, Mom. I'm not budging. A few hours passed after the phone call with my dad, and he texted me and said, "It's been all him. He didn't even tell his own wife you guys were pregnant, and she thought we were okay with everyone." That was it. Afterward, I blocked my brother on that and made no contact. We still went on the road trip to see my folks, but I refused to see them. I want nothing to do with him. My mom said the girls should at least talk to clear the air. I told her no, this is my fight, and no one is moving until I say so, period. Of course, she was taken aback and tried again to push me to call my brother and make up. I told her that I was done. I put up with his behavior for my entire life, and I'm done. I've defended him against other family members. I've defended him against you guys. I've been there for him when his first marriage went wrong. I was there for him when he was having issues with his current marriage, and I was there to cheer him on for all his significant accomplishments in life. Where was he for my hardships? Or where was he during my accomplishments? Freaking nowhere. I'm done with his nonsense. The dude can't even be considerate enough to know my wife's birthday when I know his. And I know it's not personal to my current wife because he acted the same way with my ex-wife. So I'm done, and have been in no contact ever since. My nieces still get gifts and cards from us when it's their birthday and Christmas, but that's it. I'm only budging if he apologizes and makes a legitimate effort first. Am I the idiot now? For a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk at all. You and everyone else moved on, and if he can't do the same when you and your wife are happy and built a family together, then he can go kick rocks. There's no reason you should have to apologize or feel bad. Not when he has been a coward blaming his wife for all the problems instead of manning up and talking about it. You are better off without him in your life to bring you down. He seems like a person who only sees others as family when he needs something, and those people are awful to have around. Comment 2. Your brother is a jerk and his wife is completely out of line. It sounds like they wanted to use this to be the favorites and try to push you out of the family. Will your parents be passing down a relatively large inheritance? If you have already filed for divorce, the romantic relationship is over. The time period between filing for divorce and divorce being finalized is paperwork and bureaucracy. You aren't required to be celibate during that time. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for the latest. So things have been pretty hectic since I last updated. Remember how I said my brother's wife blocked us? Well, turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. My brother, the one I thought had my back, has been stirring the pot behind the scenes. It all started when my wife and I decided to throw a small party for our baby's first milestones. We invited the usual suspects, family, and close friends, but I hesitated to tell my brother because of the whole blocking drama. Eventually, I caved and sent him an invite, thinking he'd decline. To my surprise, he said they'd come. The day of the party, everything was going great until my brother's wife pulled me aside. She was all teary-eyed, apologizing for blocking us, saying she felt threatened by how close our families were and how it made her feel insecure in her marriage. I was taken aback, but I accepted her apology, thinking this was a step towards mending fences. But then she dropped a news. She confessed that she hadn't been able to get pregnant and seeing us with our baby was too much for her. I felt for her, I really did, but I reassured her that we were family and we'd support them through anything. A week later, my brother calls me furious. He accused me of rubbing his wife's face in our happiness and being insensitive about their fertility issues. I was shocked. I tried to explain that wasn't my intention, but he wouldn't listen. The argument got heated, and in a moment of anger, I told him maybe if they focused on their own happiness, instead of resenting ours, they'd be better off. That was a mistake. He hung up, and I haven't heard from him since. My parents got wind of the fight, and my mom's been on my case to apologize, but I'm standing my ground. I didn't start this, and I'm tired of being the bad guy. Then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, my wife found out she's pregnant again. We were over the moon, but now there's this dark cloud hanging over us. We haven't told anyone yet, not even my parents. I'm dreading the fallout when my brother finds out, especially with everything that's happened. So here we are, stuck in this mess. I'm trying to protect my family and our peace, but it feels like no matter what I do, it's never enough. I'm just hoping time will heal whatever's broken between us. Thanks for reading through this mess. My husband begged me to have a threesome and then cheated with the other woman, so I took him to the cleaners and left him broke and babyless with his mistress. I've been married to my husband for 10 years, and in that time it's been great and loving and loyal, and I felt really lucky. We have one child. Well, about 2 years ago, my husband wanted to open up the bedroom and see other people, but just sexually. I wasn't into it, and was completely taken aback by the whole idea. I've thought about what it would be like to be with another man, I admit, but like the most innocent thought. I've had intimacy with the same man for 10 years, so naturally I have thought about it. But I'd never say that to him, or even want to. So about 2 months later, after having thought about it, I decided I was down for it. I made sure I could also see another man, because I'm not a homosexual and not into women, and a lot of people think threesomes just means man-man-woman, and that's hardly the case. Basically, he wanted to do woman-woman-man first, but was open to doing it with another man. Long story short, he suggested someone he works with, but not in the same department. So I don't know how they crossed paths, but apparently they have. Since she was the first person on his mind, I was a little worried. He suggested we meet for dinner and go from there. Fast forward to dinner, and let's call her Gina, and my husband were hitting it off and basically flirting in front of me pretty hard. I had been drinking a lot that night, and we finally decided to leave and invite her back to our house. Next thing I know, we're having a threesome, but it felt like a twosome. They started making out, and he started fingering her without even giving me a kiss first. I started to undress, and he started to kiss me too, but she started giving him oral, and he was back on her. He kept saying how tight she was, and how he missed her pussy, which was very weird to me. She was also very into my husband and was very vocal and moaning constantly. He ended up having intimacy with her raw and releasing inside of her after she told him to, which he said she did in the heat of the moment. I was so shocked I didn't know what to do. So I went to the bathroom and showered. They basically kept going at it, even though he came, and he's never had that type of energy with me. It's like he couldn't get enough of her. So a couple days ago, I came home early from my parents' house, and I found her in my home, in my bedroom, having intimacy with my husband without me. They didn't hear me, and I just couldn't believe it. He kept saying how much tighter she was than me, and how he wanted to get her pregnant. She apparently wants a lot of kids, and he always expressed just having one child, even though I wanted more. They went on for about 10 more minutes before he told her he was going to finish in her again. I walked in and asked what the heck he was doing, and he didn't even pull out of her. He was just shocked and said, "What? They already had intimacy. What's the big deal?" I told her to get out, and he said that I couldn't just kick her out. She didn't say anything but kept moaning because he was still inside of her. I told him to get her out or I'd call the cops, and that's when he finally got off of her and asked her to leave. I asked how many times did they have intimacy since the first time we had a threesome, and he said a couple of times at her place, and he would have invited me, but I was busy those days. Yeah, right. I asked if he always would finish in her, and he said yeah, 'cause she's on the pill. Even though we said he wasn't allowed to do that per our agreement, I told him I want a divorce, and he has the nerve to be shocked. Am I the idiot for divorcing him and taking all his money? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. They have been intimate this whole time and used the threesome as a way for you to feel as if you're to blame. Who says I missed your first time sleeping together? Go for the divorce and expose him to his friends and family. What a loser. Comment 2. Not the idiot. But surprise, the threesome ends in disaster. He kept saying how tight she was and that he missed her intimacy, which was very weird to me. Also, this leads me to believe he was cheating on you with her before too, and just used the threesome as an attempt to cover it up. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. So after I told him I wanted a divorce, things got even messier, if you can believe it. My husband, let's call him Mark, he begged me not to go through with it. Said it was all a big mistake, that he didn't mean any of it. But how do you accidentally cheat on your wife repeatedly, and in our own bed? That's not a slip-up, that's a full-on sprint away from our vows. I was still reeling from the betrayal when I got a call from Gina. Yeah, she had the nerve to call me. She said she was pregnant, and guess who the father was? Mark, of course. She was all tears and apologies, saying she never meant for it to happen. But actions speak louder than words, and her actions were screaming. I was furious, hurt, and a whole lot of other things I can't even name. But I had to keep it together for our kid. I couldn't let them see me fall apart. So, I did what any sensible person would do. I lawyered up. I found the toughest, most no-nonsense divorce attorney in town. If Mark wanted to play dirty, I was going to make sure I came out on top. The divorce proceedings were a circus. Mark tried to claim that I was the one who pushed for the open relationship, that I was the one who wanted to bring other people into our bedroom. He painted me as this person I didn't even recognize. But I had evidence. Texts, emails, the whole 9 yards. I wasn't going down without a fight. In the middle of all this, our kids started acting out. I guess they could sense that something was wrong. It broke my heart to see them so upset. I tried to shield them from it all, but kids are smart. They know when something's up. Then one day, I came home to find Mark packing his things. He said he was moving in with Gina, that they were going to raise the baby together. I couldn't help but laugh. It was either that or cry, and I was done crying over him. The divorce was finalized not long after that. I got the house, full custody, and a decent chunk of his paycheck for child support. Mark tried to act like he was the victim in all this, but no one was buying it. Not the judge, not our friends, not even his own family. But here's the kicker. Gina's baby? Not Mark's. Turns out she'd been seeing someone else on the side. Mark was devastated. He'd given up everything for a lie. And me? I can't say I was happy about it, but there was a certain satisfaction in seeing him get a taste of his own medicine. Now, I'm just trying to move on, to build a new life for me and my kid. It's not easy, but we're getting there, one day at a time. And Mark? Well, he got exactly what he deserved. Thanks for reading. My parents hated my white fiancé and tried to sabotage our wedding. But when my uncle crossed the line, I exposed his dirty secrets to the whole community and watched him lose everything. As a fan of this subreddit, I thought it would be fun to share my own "Am I the idiot, am I the jerk" story, which happened a few years ago. I'm an Indian guy, born and raised in Houston, Texas. When I graduated high school, my parents really wanted me to go to the University of Houston so I could live at home while I went to school. Instead, I got accepted to the University of Texas at Austin. I was really happy about this because I wanted to live on my own. My parents did not like this at all, but didn't stop me. My mother gave me a bit of advice. Guard your reputation at all costs, because if you lose your reputation, you will bring shame to yourself and to the family. Whatever, Ma. Well, my parents' worst fears came true. I started dating a white girl, gasp, and she soon became my girlfriend. My parents found out because they are Indian parents and are incredibly nosy. My parents expected me to call every night, and I missed one night. I was at the movies and put my phone in Do Not Disturb mode. Well, my parents had called like 20 times in a panic, and then when I finally called back the next day, I gave up my whereabouts under interrogation. My parents came by that weekend and decided to discuss the situation. My mom told me that white women are intimacy workers, and that by associating with them, I would bring shame to myself and the family. My dad was cool about it. He told me to sleep with as many white women as I wanted, and when I was ready, they would find me a nice, pure Indian girl to marry. My mom smacked my dad on the shoulder and told him he shouldn't be teaching me such bad morals. I wasn't sure which was more offensive, my mom calling my girlfriend an intimacy worker, or my dad treating my girlfriend like a glorified intimacy toy. I told them to stop talking shit about my girlfriend, or they could leave. They dropped the issue, and I did not reveal any more information in future interrogations, so I flew under the radar. I figure they thought I was going through a phase, and that she'd either break up with me or she would cheat on me. Apparently, in my parents' eyes, white women have no honor. That's why the divorce rate is so high or something. Do I make my parents sound discriminatory? They kind of are, but I guess I'm just used to old school Indian uncles, aunties being low-key racists. They're just telling it like it is. Well, joke's on them. We stayed together through college. When I graduated and got a job and she got accepted to medical school, I thought it would be a good time to pop the question. She accepted. My parents were pissed, but went along with it, as long as we did a white wedding and an Indian wedding. We did the white wedding at my girlfriend's father's ranch. A small affair, just close family. It did not go well. My dad is a liberal who thinks conservatives are evil, and my girlfriend's dad is a conservative who thinks liberals are mentally ill. They got into a huge political argument at the reception. My mom basically sneered at everyone the entire time, as if my girlfriend's family were a bunch of country bumpkins that were beneath her. I told my wife, "I just want to be married to you. Let's get out of here." We literally headed for the hills. Our honeymoon was in the Texas Hill Country. My parents were not happy that I abandoned them, and that they weren't given the position of honor that is traditionally given to the groom's family in Indian culture. At this point, I was tired of the drama and didn't want to get married again, and I just wanted to start my life with my wife. So my entire family considers me a jerk in this situation. In India, marriages aren't between only two people. They are alliances between families. My making my marriage only about my wife and me, I am being supremely selfish. By living separately and keeping my distance, thank God we live in Austin, far enough away from Houston to keep my family from dropping in all the time. Am I breaking up the family? My wife is not thrilled with my family, but she is a family kind of girl. She doesn't get along with her parents. She is a godless liberal who moved to the People's Republic of Austin, but keeping relations with her family, a QAnon type, is very important to her. So she's willing to put up with my family's insanity if I am. I'm not so sure, but I'm also the classic ABCD, American-born confused Daisy. And while I lean more to the American independent side, my Daisy side compels me to indulge my family to some degree. Anyways, I don't think I'm a jerk. But is being a jerk in the eye of the beholder, since assholery is culture dependent? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. The great thing about being an adult in America is you don't have to give a flying care about what anyone else thinks or wants you to do. As long as you're not breaking the law, you're free to be whoever you want to be. Live however you want to live, marry whoever you want, and do whatever you feel like doing. Honor, tradition, custom, respect are all different forms of the word control. Your parents want to control you. Don't let them. Comment 2. My dad is a liberal who thinks conservatives are evil. He told me to sleep with as many white women as I wanted, and when I was ready, they would find me a nice, pure Indian girl to marry. Yeah, your dad isn't as liberal as you and him think he is. He thinks women are to be used as intimacy dolls if they're of a particular race. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. Here's what's been going down since then. So, things took a turn for the worse. My wife, she's been getting these anonymous texts, right? And they're not just your regular prank stuff, they're nasty. Talking about how she's ruining the family honor and all that. We thought it was just some random troll. But then my mom calls crying, saying she's been getting them too, and guess who they're from? My own uncle. Yeah, the one who's always preaching about family values and respect. Turns out he's been stirring the pot, telling my parents they're losing face because of me. He's got this twisted idea that by marrying outside the community, I've disrespected our traditions. So he takes it upon himself to fix things. He's been harassing my wife, trying to scare her into leaving me, thinking that'll bring me back to the fold. It's messed up. My wife, she's tough, but this is getting to her. She's starting to doubt if our marriage is worth this chaos. And I'm caught in the middle, trying to protect her from my own family. I never thought I'd see the day when I'd have to shield my wife from the people who raised me. But it doesn't end there. My dad, he's been trying to play problem solver, but he's got his own problems. He lost his job, and not just any job, the one he's had for decades, the one that brought us to the States. He's been keeping it a secret, trying to find work before anyone noticed. But with everything going on, it slipped out. Now he's feeling like he's failed as a provider and a father. It's like watching a man who's always been larger than life just crumble. My mom, she's not taking it well. She's always been the type to worry about what people think, and now she's got her brother causing trouble, her husband jobless, and her son in a marriage she never wanted. She's lashing out, saying things she can't take back. It's like she's trying to push everyone away before they can leave her. And me? I made a choice. I thought it was the right one. I confronted my uncle. Told him to back off or I'd go to the cops. I thought it would scare him into stopping, but it backfired. He went to the community elders, spun a tale about how I'm threatening him, how I've lost my way. Now, I've got these old-timers on my case, saying I'm the one bringing shame upon the family. I should have known better. My uncle, he's got connections, respect. I'm just the kid who married a white girl. In their eyes, I'm already the bad guy. Going against him just made things worse. So here I am, trying to keep my marriage together, support my dad, and keep my mom from falling apart. And the worst part? I'm starting to resent my wife for it. It's not her fault, I know that. But when I see the stress in her eyes, the way she's starting to flinch at the sound of her phone, I can't help but wonder if it would have been easier if I'd just listened to my parents. If I'd just done what was expected of me. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day!